on the link in the description for our Maths Foundation paper bundle as a free download. This 2017 paper is included in the bundle. Make sure you have this paper downloaded before going any further with this video.
Hi guys, it's Mahim from Redbridge Tuition, and what we're going to be doing today is going through a past examination foundation paper. So the paper we're doing today is paper 1, June 2017. Now, if we look to make a start, we'll start from question number 1. So we have work out the value of 2 to the power of 4. Now, the way we work this out is we need to do 2 times itself 4 times. So what we'll write down is 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. Now, a common mistake students make are that they will do 2 times 4. That's not the case, as the question is asking us to work out 2 to the power of 4. Now, if we were to work this out, we would just start by doing 2 times 2, which is equal to 4. And then we've got 4 times 2, which is equal to 8. And 8 times 2 to get to our answer of 16. Now moving on to question number 2. So what we need to do here is we need to write 7.26451 correct to 3 decimal places. So firstly, what we need to do is we need to look at our 4th decimal place, as this will determine whether our 3rd decimal place either rounds up or down. So our 4th decimal place is 5. We round the 3rd decimal place up as a result, and our answer would be 7.265. Moving on to question number 3. We've got 3a, which says simplify 7 times e times f times 8. Now, we should notice that we have 2 numbers in this equation. Now, we can simplify these 2 numbers. Firstly, what we will do is 7 times 8, which is equal to 56. Now, we will have 56 times e times f. To write this in the simplest form, all we need to do is put these variables next to each other. And our final answer would be 56 EF. Now part B. Part B, what we have to do is solve the value of x. So we've got x divided by 5 is equal to 2.5. Now firstly, this fraction is a mixed fraction. We need to convert this into an improper fraction. So firstly, what we're going to do is we're going to write down 2.5, and we're going to convert this into an improper fraction. Now how we do that is, firstly, we times our whole number by the denominator, and then we add that value to the numerator. Our denominator stays the same. So our denominator stays as 2, and our numerator would be 5. So 2.5 is equal to 5 over 2. Now we can progress to work out the value of x. So we've got x divided by 5 is equal to 5 over 2. Now the whole goal is to isolate the variable x. At the moment we can't do this because we've got x divided by 5 on the left hand side of the equation. What we need to do is we need to move this 5 to the opposite side of the equation. When we move a number from the left hand side of an equation to the right hand side of the equation, we need to do the opposite function. So if we've got dividing by 5 on the left hand side, once we move this to the right hand side, we will have it to multiply. So we will have x is equal to 5 bracket 5 over 2. Now these brackets mean multiply. So when we multiply these brackets out, we will form a final answer of x is equal to 25 over 2. This is equal to 12.5. That's question 3 done. Now let's move on to question number 4. So question number 4 says to write 4/5 as a percentage. Percentage means out of 100. So we want to convert this fraction to out of 100. So we've got 4/5 and we want our denominator to be 100. Now, the question is, how did we get from 5 to 100? We had to times 5 by 20. If you do an action on the denominator, we have to do the same action for the numerator to find the equivalent fraction. So we times 4 by 20 also, and we get a final answer of 80 out of 100. Now, the final step is just writing our percentage. Our percentage will always be the numerator if the fraction is out of 100. So our percentage would be 80. Now, moving on to question number 5, we need to work out 60% of 70. So firstly, I'm going to write down the question. So we've got to work out 60% of 70. The first thing that I'm going to do is work out 10% of 70. So 10% of 70 is equal to 7. Okay? Now, what we need to notice is how we go from 10% to 60%. We times the value by 6. So, to work out our final answer, we would do 7 times by 6. So our final answer would be 42. Next is question number 6. Sammy spins a 4-sided spinner. On the probability scale, mark with a cross the probability that the spinner will land on B. So what we need to notice here is that there are 2 out of the 4 sections that B occupy. So our probability will be a half. We'll mark an X here. Moving on to part B. On the probability scale, mark with a cross the probability that the spinner will land on F. Now on our spinner, we don't have a section that has an F. That means that the probability would be 0. We will mark an X here. Question number 7. Fahima buys 2 packets of bread rolls costing £1.50 for each packet, 1 bottle of ketchup costing £1.60, 3 packets of sausages. Fahima pays with a £10 note. She gets 30p change. Fahima works out that 1 packet of sausages costs £2.30. Is Fahima right? You must show how you got your answer. So in this type of question, we need to underline the key bits of information. So we would underline 2 packets of bread rolls costing £1.50 for each packet. We would also underline 1 bottle of ketchup costing £1.60 and then 3 packets of sausages. She pays with a £10 note, so we will underline £10 notes. She also receives 30p change. Now in the question, it's told us that she has worked out that 1 packet of sausages would cost £2.30. What we need to do is either prove that Fahima is right or wrong. Now, even though we've underlined the key points, I would still write out these points in our space of working out to make it very clear to the examiner what we are doing. So we would say 2 packets of bread rolls is equal to £1.50 per packet. Now, it's essential that you keep your work very, very organized so the examiner knows exactly what you are doing. Next, we've got 1 bottle of ketchup, which is equal to £1.60. And we need to work out 3 packets of sausages, so I'm not going to write that down for the minute. I will write down that she pays with a £10 note and receives 30p change. So if she had paid with a £10 note and receives 30p change, that means we can work out the total cost of the ingredients. So how we do that is we will do £10 minus 30p, which is £0.3 or 0.30, and that gives us an answer of £9.70. So now we know that the total cost of everything came to £9.70. Now, from the information that is given to us in the question, we can see that we've got 2 packets of bread rolls costing £1.50 per packet. So to work out the total cost of the bread rolls, we will times the value of 1 bread roll by 2. So we will have £1.50 times by 2, which is equal to £3. Okay, so the total cost of the bread rolls is £3. We know that 1 bottle of ketchup is also £1.60. So now we can work out the total cost of the bread rolls and the bottle of ketchup. We do that by adding these 2 values together. So we will have £3 plus £1.60 to give us £4.60. Okay? Now, the next part of the question, what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract the total value of the ingredients by the value of the bread rolls and the ketchup. So we have £9.70 take away £4.60. The reason I've done this is to work out the total cost of the sausages. So that value can be worked out by using the column method. So we'll have £9.70 take away £4.60. So we'll have 0 take away 0, which would be 0. Then 7 take away 6, which would be 1. We keep our decimal places in line, and we would just have 9 take away 4, which is equal to 5. So what we've worked out here is that 3 packets of sausages is equal to £5.10. Now we can work out how much 1 packet of sausages would be by dividing this value by 3. So we're going to do £5.10 divided by 3. We can work this out by using the bus stop method. So make sure that your decimal places are in line, and then we'll use the short method to obtain our answer. So then our remainder is 2. Our remainder will be just above the 1 to make 21. Then we'll see how many times 3 goes into 21. And the value for 1 packet of sausages is equal to £1.70. Now, if we go back to the question, it said that Fahima works out that 1 packet of sausages is equal to £2.30. From our working out, we can see that this has not been the case. Now, we need to write a final statement saying, I'll write it up here, saying that Fahima is wrong because the cost of 1 packet of sausages is equal to £1.70 and not £2.30. And that finishes off our question. Now, if you look at question number 8, question number 8a says to work out 5/8 times 3/4. Now, when timesing fractions, we times the numerators together and we times the denominators together. So what we would do is we would do 5 times 3, which is equal to 15, over 8 times 4, which is equal to 32. So our final answer would be 15 divided by 32. The fractions were in its simplest form, therefore we do not have to simplify it any further. Moving on to part B, we've got 2/3 take away 1/4. Now, when we subtract fractions from each other, we have to cross multiply. So we would times the numerator of the first term by the denominator of the second term. This would give us the first value of our answer. So we would have 2 times 4, which is equal to 8. Now, bear in mind that the minus goes along with the 1. So we're going to have -1 times by 3, which is equal to -3. This is all to make up the numerator of our final answer. So we'll have 8 minus 3. Now for the denominator, all we need to do is times our two denominators by each other. So we have 3 times 4, which is equal to 12. Now to simplify this further, we do 8 take away 3, 8 minus 3, which is 5. And our denominator would remain as 12. So our final answer would be 5/12. Question number 9. So this is another long-worded question. So Sean works for a company. His normal rate of pay is £12 per hour. When Sean, what we will do is we will underline as we read the question. So we will say his normal rate of pay is £12 per hour. When Sean works for more than 8 hours a day, he is paid overtime for each hour he works more than 8 hours. Sean's rate of overtime pay per hour is 1.25 times his normal rate of pay per hour. On Monday, Sean worked for 10 hours. Work out the total amount of money Sean earned on Monday. Now this is a typical question where we need to break it down and work it out in steps. So if we look at the key bits of information that we have and note them down, we can say that Sean's usual pay rate is £12 per hour. So we can just write here normal pay is equal to £12 per hour. Okay? Now, when he works more than 8 hours, he's paid overtime, right? So we know that our overtime rate is 1.25 times the normal pay. The overtime hourly rate would be 1.25 times by his usual rate. So we would have 1.25 times by 12. So altogether, on Monday, Sean worked for 10 hours. For his normal rate, he would be paid at £12 an hour for the first 8 hours. So we can write down here that he works 8 hours at £12 per hour. And we can work out that for 2 hours, he would be paid his overtime rate, which would be 12 times 1.25 per hour. Now, if we were to work that out, we have 2 hours at 1.25 times by his initial rate. So how we're going to work this out is we're going to change this mixed fraction into an improper fraction first. So we have 1.25. We times the denominator by the whole number, and then we add the numerator. So we have 1 times 4 plus 1, which gives us 5. And we ensure that the denominator stays the same. So we'll have 5 over 4. That is the equivalent improper fraction. Now we can go ahead and times this value by 12. Now when you have a whole number, the number is over 1. So we would have 5 over 4 times by 12 over 1. We proceed to working this out to get 5 times 12, which is 60, over 4 times 1, which is 4. Now, 60 divided by 4 is equal to 15. £15 is the amount that he would be paid per hour for overtime. He does 2 hours of overtime, so he would be paid £30 for the 2 hours that he has done. So I'm going to write £30 for overtime. Okay, now we can work out how much he has made for the first 8 hours that he worked by doing 8 times by 12, which gives us £96. To finish this question off, we just need to add both values together to work out the total amount that Sean earns in his time at work. £96 plus £30, which gives us a total of £126. Question number 10. A farmer has 20 boxes of eggs. There are 6 eggs in each box. Write as a ratio the number of eggs in 2 boxes to the total number of eggs. Give your answer in its simplest form. So firstly, what we need to do is to work out the total number of eggs that we have. We do 20 times 6, which gives us a value of 120 in total. The question has asked us for the ratio for the number of eggs in 2 boxes compared to the total number of eggs. So as there are 6 eggs in each box, for 2 boxes, we will have 12 eggs. So now, to write this as a ratio, we will say 12 colon 120. Our question isn't finished because we also need to write this in the simplest form. Now, the way we do that is we need to cancel down both ratios. We can see that both of these values can be divided by 12. So we'll have 12 divided by 12, which gives us 1, and 120 divided by 12, which gives us 10. So this gives us our final answer in the simplest ratio of 1 colon 10. Moving on to question number 11. So we have a sequence of patterns which is made from circular tiles and square tiles. Here are the first 3 patterns in the sequence. We've got pattern number 1, 2 and 3. Part A says how many square tiles are needed to make pattern number 6. So what we need to notice here is the relevance between the pattern number and the number of square tiles we have. So if we have a look, we've got pattern number 1 and 1 tile. For pattern number 2, we have 4 square tiles, and for pattern number 3, we have 9 square tiles. So what we notice is that the pattern number squared gives us the number of square tiles that we need. So 1 squared is equal to 1, 2 squared is equal to 4, and 3 squared is equal to 9. So to work out the number of square tiles required for pattern number 6, all we need to do is 6 squared. So 6 squared is equal to 36. Okay, part B. How many circular tiles are needed to make the pattern number 20? So before we can look to work out the number of circular tiles we need for pattern number 20, we need to look at the relevance between the number of square tiles and the number of circular tiles. So if we have a look, we can see, well, I noticed that the number of square tiles on the top row is equal to the pattern number. So for example, if you look at pattern number 3, you can see, I'm going to shade it here, that this is the total number of square tiles on the top row. Okay, so what we can infer from that is, so on pattern number 20, we would have 20 square tiles on the top row. Now, from that we can see that the number of tiles on the top row times by 4 to work out the number of circular tiles that we have in total. So the calculation that we would perform is 20 times 4, which gives us 80. 80 would be the total number of circular tiles to make the pattern number 20. Moving on to part C, Derek says when the pattern number is odd, an odd number of square tiles is needed to make the pattern. Is Derek right? Please, you must give reasons for your answer. So what we need to go back to here is the pattern between the number and the amount of square tiles that we have. So we worked out previously that when you square the pattern number, we achieve the number of square tiles. Now, if you square any odd number, we get an odd number as the answer. So for example, if I was to do 5 squared, we would get 25. Also, as an example, we can see that 9 squared is equal to 81. So from this pattern, we can say that Derek is correct because squaring an odd number results in an odd answer. Now, moving on to question number 12. So, there are only 7 blue pens, 4 green pens, and 6 red pens in a box. 1 pen is taken at random from the box. Write down the probability that this pen is blue. So firstly, what we need to do is we need to work out the total number of pens in the box. So we add the number of pens in total. So we have 7 plus 4 plus 6, which gives us a total of 17 pens in the box. Now, the question is asking for the probability that the pen is blue. So as we have 7 blue pens, our probability, so I'll just write that here for you, our probability would be 7 over 17. And that's our simplified answer. Moving on to question number 13. The diagram shows a tree and a man. The man is of average height. The tree and the man are drawn to the same scale. Part A, write down an estimate for the real height in meters of the man. So we should know that the average height of a man is roughly between 1.6 to 1.8 meters. So I'm going to write down 1.7 meters. This is just general information that you should know. Part B. Find an estimate for the real height in meters of the tree. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a diagram of the same increments increasing up until we reach the height of the tree from the man. So that's the first. This is just an approximation. It doesn't have to be completely accurate. That's the second line. This is the third, fourth, and the fifth. So roughly, the tree is the height of about 5 times the man. So what we're going to do is we're going to times our answer by 5 to work out an estimate for the height of the tree. So 1.7 times by 5. I'm just going to show you my calculation. So 5 times 7 is 35. Carry the 3. And then we've got 5 times 1, which is 1. And then after carrying the 3, we get to an answer of 8.5 meters. Now, as this is an approximation, the mark scheme will have a specific range, probably from about 6.5 to maybe 10 meters. Now, question number 14. So, Year 9 students from Hales School were asked to choose one language to study. The table shows information about their choices. So we've got 3 different languages, French, Spanish, and German, and the number of students that participate in each of these languages. Part A, draw an accurate pie chart to show this information. So firstly, what we are going to do is work out the total number of students that participate in a given language. So we add all of these figures up. So we've got 56 plus 40 plus 24, which gives us a total of 120 students altogether. I'm going to write down each fraction of the language. So we have 56 over 120. This is for French. For Spanish, we have 40 over 120. And for German, we have 24 over 120. Now, in this format, it's very difficult to draw our pie charts. What we need to remember is that one full turn of a circle is 360 degrees. We notice that 120 times 3 is equal to 360. So the equivalent fractions would be as follows. We're going to have 56 times 3, which is equal to 168. Then 40 times 3, which is equal to 120. And the last one for German would be 24 times 3, which gives me 72. Now these are our angles that we will be using to plot our pie charts. We need a protractor for this question. So I've got my protractor here. I'm going to line it up. So the first language that I will be doing is French, and that is 168 degrees from the center. You don't have to do it in this order, but this is the order that I've chosen to do. So I've lined up my protractor, and I'll put a little point as to where 168 will be, and that will be about here. Now I'm going to join the line from the center, crossing through this point, and this will give us our first section of the pie charts. So if I just move the protractor out of the way, this big section here will be labeled as French. The next part is Spanish. So what we need to do is we need to line our protractor to ensure that it's straight on the line that we have just constructed. Okay, now I have my protractor lined up, and from here I need to measure 120 degrees to construct my second line. So from this line, we replicate the same method here. Now I'm going to join this line from the center, and it should look like this. Okay, now I'll move my protractor out of the way, and I will write down that this section that we've just created will be Spanish. The last section that has created itself in the pie chart is the German, the students that took German. And that's our pie chart completed. Now, moving on to part B. Shamina says, the pie chart shows French was chosen more by Year 9 students at Lowry School than Hale School. Is she right? You must explain your answer. Now, from the second pie chart, we haven't been given any data. So therefore, we're not sure, even though the section of the pie chart is larger, we're not sure how many people have taken French in Lowry School. So therefore, she's not correct, and we'll write down that this is because there are no actual figures to support the pie chart for Lowry School. Shamina can't draw that conclusion because we haven't got a sample size for Lowry School. Moving on to question number 15. Here are a triangle and a rectangle. The area of the rectangle is 6 times the area of the triangle. Work out the width of the rectangle. So what we're going to do in this question is work out the total area of the triangle first. So I'm going to write down a subheading. So this is area of the triangle. To work out the area of the triangle, we use the equation half times base times height. So the height is 9 centimeters. The base is equal to 8 centimeters. Now the area is equal to 9 times 8 divided by 2. And the total area of the triangle is equal to 36 centimeters squared. Now the second part of this question has told us that the area of the rectangle is 6 times the area of the triangle. So as we have worked out the area of the triangle to be 36 centimeters squared, we can work out the total area of the rectangle. We do this by timesing our value of 36 centimeters squared by 6. So I'm going to write here area of rectangle. This is equal to 36 times 6, which gives us an answer of 216 centimeters squared. Okay. Now the final part of this question wants us to work out the width of the rectangle. As we have the area, which is 216, we can write the equation, which is base times height, to work out the area of a rectangle. So the base is 16 times by the width. Now, to rearrange this equation, all we do is 216 divided by 16 to work out the width of the rectangle, which is 13.5 centimeters. So our final answer is 13.5. Now, question number 16. We've got V is equal to U plus AT. This is a standard equation. So we've got the values of U, A, and T, which are 1, minus 3, and a half respectively. So our question is to work out the value of V. So we're going to substitute the numbers that we have into our equation and work out the value of V. So wherever we substitute, we put the numbers into brackets. So we've got V is equal to bracket and then close bracket 1 plus minus 3 times by a half. So the first thing that I'm going to do is work out the second part of this equation. So we're going to have 1 plus, now minus 3 times by a half is equal to minus 1.5. Okay, now to simplify this equation further, we should notice that the positive and the negative equates to a negative. So we would have 1 minus 1.5 and V would equal to minus 0.5. That would be our final answer. Now, question number 17. We've got 5 tins of soup that have a total weight of 1,750 grams. 4 tins of soup and 3 packets of soup have a total weight of 1,490 grams. And our question is to work out the total weight of 3 tins of soup and 2 packets of soup. Now, the way to work out this question is by initially working out the amount of grams 1 tin of soup is and 1 packet of soup is. So firstly, we've been given the information that 5 tins of soup have a total weight of 1,750 grams. So I'm just going to write that here. So I'm going to say 5 tins is equal to 1,750 grams. Now, I can work out the number of grams 1 tin would weigh by dividing the total weight by 5. So 1 tin would be 1,750 divided by 5. And that would give us an answer of 350 grams. So the second part of this question has told us that we have 4 tins of soup and 3 packets of soup, and they weigh a total of 1,490 grams. What I'm going to do is work out the total weight of 4 tins of soup. So 4 tins is equal to 350 times by 4. That is equal to 1,400 grams. So now we know that 4 tins is equal to 1,400 grams. With the addition of 3 packets of soup, we would have a total of 1,490 grams. So the way that we're going to work out the weight of 1 packet is by subtracting this answer, subtracting 1,490 by 1,400, and this will give us the total weight for 3 packets of soup, which is 90 grams. I'm going to make that nice and clear. I'm going to write down here 3 packets of soup is equal to 90 grams. Now, to work out the weight of 1 packet, we are going to do 90 divided by 3. And that will equal 30 grams. The bits of information that we've worked out is the key bits of information are that 1 tin weighs a total of 350 grams and 1 packet is 30 grams. Okay, now our question is to work out the total weight of 3 tins of soup and 2 packets of soup. So, working out 3 tins, we would do 350 times by 3, which is equal to 1,050 grams. And to work out 2 packets of soup, we would do 30 times 2, which is 60 grams. To complete this question, we add both of these values together. So we have 1050 plus 60, which gives us a total weight of 1100 grams, 1,100 grams. And that completes our question number 17. Question number 18. Belina has a garden in the shape of a circle of radius 10 meters. He's going to cover the garden with grass seed to make a lawn. Grass is sold in boxes. Each box of grass seed will cover 46 meters squared of garden. Belina wants to cover all of the garden with grass seed. Part A, work out an estimate for the number of boxes of grass seed Belina needs. You must show your working out. So firstly, what we should notice is that the shape of Belina's garden is a circle. Therefore, to work out the area of the garden, we need to use the equation A is equal to pi times r squared. Okay? Now, as this is a non-calculator paper, we need to take an approximation for the value of pi. So the approximation of the value of pi that I'm going to take is 3.1. Okay? Now the radius is given to us as 10 meters And now we can substitute these values into the equation to work out the total area of the garden. So we have A is equal to 3.1 times by 10 squared. To work this out, we say that 3.1 times 100 is equal to 310 meters squared. Now, this is the total area of the garden. The second part of the question tells us the amount of grass seed each box covers. That's 46 meters squared. Now, to work out the total number of boxes required, we need to divide the total area by the amount covered by each box. So our calculation would be, so we would have the number of boxes is equal to 310 divided by 46. Okay, I'm going to use a bus stop method to work this out. So I've got 46 on the left hand side and 310 in the center. Now 46 times 6 gives me 276 and a remainder of 34. Now as 46 doesn't go into 34 directly, we'd have to add a decimal place and add a 0 to the answer. So now we need to work out how many times 46 goes into 340. It doesn't go into it directly, but 46 times 7 gives us 322 with a remainder of 12. Now, I've left this answer to one decimal place as it is an approximation, and we can't have 6.7 boxes. So what we will have to do is round this value up to have a total of 7 boxes, as we need an extra box to cover the remaining amount of area. So this rounded, so we round this up to 7, and that gives us our final answer. Okay, part B. Is your estimate for part A an underestimate or an overestimate? Give a reason for your answer. Now, the answer would be an underestimate. This is because the true area may require more boxes, as we use an approximation for the value of pi. So I'm just going to write down the true area may require more boxes. And that completes question number 80. Question number 19, part A, says to solve for bracket x minus 5 is equal to 18. So the first thing that we're going to do is expand these brackets. So 4x minus 5 is equal to 18. I'm going to put my fish hooks. So we're going to have 4 times x, take away 4 times 5, which is take away 20, and that equates 18. Now we need to make x the subject of the formula to solve the equation. So I'm going to move the minus 20 to the opposite side of the equation. Now when we move variables from one side of the equation to the opposite side, we have to undergo an opposite function. So the minus 20 would become positive 20, and we would be left with 4x, which is equal to 38. Now to work out the value of x, we do 38 divided by 4, and that gives us an answer of 9.5. That is our final answer, 9.5. Okay, part B. We have minus 3, which is less than t, which is less than or equal to 2. This is an inequality. So we need to write down all the possible values of t. The values of t are going to be minus 2, minus 1, 0, 1, and 2. Moving on to question number 20. Asmol is paid 1,500 per month. He is going to get a 3% increase in the amount of money he is paid. Work out how much money Asmol will be paid after the increase. So what we need to do here is work out 3% of 1,500. There are a few ways to do this, but the way that I'm going to do it is by working out 1% of 1,500 first. So 1% of 1,500 is equal to 15. Now as 1% is equal to £15, To work out 3%, we just have to times this answer by 3. So 3% of 1,500 is equal to 15 times 3, and that gives us an answer of £45. So what we have worked out is that Asmol's pay has been increased by £45 per month. The final step of this question is just to add this value to the existing amount that he earned per month. So we have 1,500 plus 45, which gives us a total value of £1,545. And that completes question number 20. Now, question number 21. The scatter graph shows the maximum temperature and the number of hours of sunshine in 14 British towns on one day. One of the points is an outlier. Part A, write down the coordinates of this point. So what we need to know about an outlier is that this is a value that doesn't correspond to the general trend of the chart. So from the chart, we can see that this point here is definitely the outlier. So it's asking for the coordinates of this point. So what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to draw a dotted line down to the x-axis, which corresponds to 10, and do the same for the y-axis. This gives us an accurate reading for our coordinates, and that would be 19. Part B. For all the other points, write down the type of correlation. So this type of correlation, I'll just draw a line to join as many of the points as I can, would be a positive correlation. Moving on to part C. On the same day, in another British town, the maximum temperature was 16.4 degrees Celsius. Estimate the number of hours of sunshine in this town on this day. So what we need to do is, as I've already done, I've drawn a line from the first point to the last point. Now I can work out my approximation by finding 16.4 on my y-axis, which is the maximum temperature, and lining this up and drawing a line from the point in the graph down to the x-axis, which would roughly be 12.8 hours. Part D. A weatherman says temperatures are higher on days when there is more sunshine. Does the scatter graph support what the weatherman says? Give a reason for your answer. Yes, it does support the theory because the correlation is positive. This is due to the positive correlation of the graph. Question number 22. Express 56 as a product of its prime factors. So a prime factor is just a combination of prime numbers that are times together. So firstly, I'm going to write down 56. Now, I'm going to create a branch system. So firstly, I'm going to divide this number by 2. So 56 divided by 2 is 28. Now, I'm going to divide this number by 2 again. So we've got 2 and 14. I'm going to repeat this action one more time. And we are left with 2 and 7. What we should notice is that with the numbers remaining, these are all prime numbers and cannot be divided by any other number. So we have 2 times 2 times 2 times 7. That would be our final answer. Now, question number 23. Work out 54.6 times 4.3. Now, there are a few ways that you can work this out. The way that I like to work it out is by making these decimal numbers into whole numbers. So 54.6 is converted into 546. Now you have to bear in mind and remember what you have done to the decimal place. Okay, so I've moved the decimal place 1 point to the right. Okay, now I'll repeat the same action for 4.3. So we have 4.3, and that is converted into 43. Now I'm going to undergo the calculation via the column method. So we have 546 times by 43. 3 times 6 is 18. We carry the 1. 3 times 4 is 12. Carry the 1. So we have 13. And 3 times 5 is 15. We carry the last 1 to give us 16. Now for the second number, we have 4 times 6, which is 24. And we carry the 2. 4 times 4, which gives me 16. After carrying the 2, that leaves us with 18. And we carry the 1. And lastly, we have 4 times 5, which is 20. After carrying the 1, we have 21. Now we add these sets of numbers together. So we have 8 plus 0, which is just 8. 3 plus 4, which is 7. 6 plus 8, which is 14. And we carry the 1. So 1 plus 1 is 2. After carrying the 1, that would give us 3, and the 2 remains. So our answer so far is 23,478. Now, we need to have a look at how many decimal places we moved in total. So we moved 2 places to the right. So to complete our answer, we have to move the decimal places twice to the left. 7, 8. Currently, our decimal place sits here. We have to move this twice to the left to achieve our final answer. So our final answer would be 234.78. Question number 24. So we have a square. The area of the square ABCD is 10 centimeters squared. Show that x squared plus 6x is equal to 1. So what we should notice here is that the combination of 3 and x makes the total length of the square. Now to work out the area of a square, we just do the base times the height. So the height is equal to 3 plus x. The base is also equal to 3 plus x as it's a square. Now to work out the area, we do 3 plus x, ensure that this is in brackets, times by 3 plus x. Now we need to expand these double brackets to obtain an expression. So I'll put my fish hooks in, 2 on the top, 2 on the bottom, and expand these brackets. So we've got 3 times 3, which is 9, add 3x, then we add another 3x, and x squared. In the question, it has told us that the total area is equal to 10. So this expression has to be equal to 10 centimeters squared. Now we need to simplify this expression. So we can say that x squared plus 6x plus 9 is equal to 10. We want to put this in the form that they have given to us in the equation. And to do that, we just move over the plus 9 to the opposite side of the equation. So we have x squared plus 6x, which is equal to 10 take away 9. And that gives us x squared plus 6x, which is equal to 1 as our final answer. Okay, moving on to question number 25. The rectangular frame is made from 5 straight pieces of metal. This is in the shape of a rectangle. The weight of the metal is 1.5 kilograms per meter. Work out the total weight of the metal in the frame. Now the 5 straight pieces of metal that they're talking about in the question is the 4 sides, which are the length and the base of the rectangle, and the 5th length is the diagonal in the center. So we need to work out the length of this diagonal to be able to progress with this question. So firstly, we have both lengths, which are 12 times 2, giving us 24 centimeters It's 24 meters squared, sorry. And we also have the total width, which is 5 times 2, which equals 10 meters squared. Now, to work out the diagonal length, we need to use Pythagoras' theorem. Pythagoras' theorem is stated as follows. So we've got c squared is equal to a squared plus b squared. C squared is equal to 12 squared plus 5 squared. When we simplify this, we get 144 plus 25. C squared is equal to 169. Now, to work out the value of c, which is the diagonal in this case, we square root this number to get an answer of 13. Now, to work out the total length of the frames, we add 24, 10, and 13. This gives us a total length of 47 meters. Now, if we refer back to the question, it has told us that the weight of the metal is 1.5 kilograms per meter. We have a total of 47 meters. So to work out the total weight of the metal frame, we have to times 47 by 1.5. This gives us a value of 70.5 kilograms, which is our final answer. That completes question number 25. Now, question number 26. The equation of the line L1 is y is equal to 3x minus 2. The equation of L2 is 3y minus 9x plus 5 is equal to 0. Show that these two lines are parallel. When two lines are parallel, they consist of the same gradient. So what we have to do is, we have to put both of these equations in the form of y is equal to mx plus c. Now, if we look at line 1, it's already in that format, because we have y is equal to 3x minus 2. So we can see that m, which is our gradient, is equal to 3. With line 2, it's slightly more complicated. We need to put the equation into the form y is equal to mx plus c. So we have 3y, take away 9x, plus 5 is equal to 0. What I'm going to do is make y the subject of the formula. So we have 3y is equal to 9x minus 5 when we move these variables to the opposite side of the equation, and dividing both sides by 3, we have y is equal to 3x take away 5 over 3. Now, from L2, we can see that m is also equal to 3. As the gradient is equal to 3 for both lines, this means that they are parallel. So what we need to do is write a short statement to complete the question. L1 and L2 are parallel as they both have the same value of m. And this completes question number 26. Now on to the last question of the paper. We have a parallelogram, ABCD. The diagonals of the parallelogram intersect at the origin. OA is equal to A and OB is equal to B. Part A, find in terms of B the vector dB. Now, we need to look at the route taken from D to B. So, if we just put an arrow here, we can see that dB is 2 lengths of the vector B. So our answer will be 2b. Now moving on to part B, find in terms of A and B the vector AB. Now when we start at A, our route will be from A to the origin and then from the origin to B. So we have to go from A to O and then from O to B. So the route taken from A to B would be AO plus OB. Notice that AO is the opposite of OA. Therefore, we would have minus A plus B. This is due to the opposite direction that we are traveling in. Part C. Find in terms of A and B the vector AD. So from A to D, we travel from A to O, which is shown with the arrow here, and then from O to D. So I'll just write that down here. So we have A to O plus O to D. We've already established that from D to O, the vector is B. So therefore, if we're traveling in the opposite direction, we would have the opposite sign. So our vector would be minus A minus B. And that completes question number 27 and our paper. Thank you for listening. Thanks for watching this video. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section below. Please like, subscribe, and follow our page on Instagram.